Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar about Cicardio's certLife. My name is Gunnar Jakobsson. I'm the CEO and founder of Cicardio. Let's look into the agenda. So we have 30 minutes and I want to introduce you the software certLife, and especially I will have a focus on the new features that we have in the new minor release certLife version 2.3. So I will start with PKI applications, an overview and comparison of CA types, what is required on the market. And then introduction, an overview of certLife and the CA connectors of certLife, an introduction to the architecture and how we integrate certLife with the other components. And then the block about the new features in the new minor release. A very important new feature is the certificate discovery. I will explain that in detail. We have a couple of other new features, multiple selection of certificates for bulk operations, a special feature caused by Microsoft is the Microsoft SID extension in the certificates, and an interesting feature, log rotation, and a couple of security features that I will also introduce to you. At the end, a short summary of the presentation. If we talk about digital certificates, we have different types of certificates, and the most common types are listed here on the slide, and this is statistics from Ponemon research from last year. So as you can see, the most important certificate type is SSL TLS for web servers especially. Then we have VPN as an other important application. SMIME for email encryption and email signature, also very important. And authentication, device authentication, and also user authentication are important use cases. And this is the research from Ponemon from last year, and this is exactly what we see also at our customers. And with our TopKey platform, we will support all these types of certificates. The next important question is where do these certificates come from? So we have here, basically we have three different types of CAs. Most commonly an internal CA is being used. 60% of the interviewed organizations are using an internal CA, and I think most of these 60% are using a Microsoft CA. Then we have CAs in the cloud. This can be private CAs like the Amazon AWS cloud CA, 42%, and we have public CAs. 28% are using this that offer trusted, globally trusted certificates for web servers and for email encryption and so on. And we support all these types of CAs with our software. So you can see this on the next slide. So we have certLife. certLife is tightly integrated with Active Directory, is using groups, users, permissions, certificate templates from Active Directory. It is using an SQL database for storing the certificates and also encrypted private keys. And it has connectors to all these types of CAs in the cloud or internal CAs. Especially, we have an integration with Microsoft CA. I will explain that later on the next slides. And of course, we have connectors with public CAs. So certLife basically offers certificate management features, but we have also options for a user and administrator self-service via web browser. And a new feature I will explain later on is the certificate discovery. certLife offers special features that might be of interest. For example, we have a central auto-enrollment. This is an alternative to the Windows auto-enrollment, where the key pairs are generated on the client. Here we have a central key pair generation. We have a REST API for integration with other IT systems, workflow systems, ServiceNow, whatever. certLife offers notifications, so you can get email notifications about certain certificate events, creation of a certificate, approval required, certificate issued, certificate expires in 30 days, expires in 10 days, whatever, or certificate was revoked. Other interesting feature is the generation of reports and statistics to get an overview of the usage of the certificates. Yeah, here you can see example screenshots of the web application. Here you see a dashboard which will give you a very brief overview of the status of certificates, template usage, key sizes, and so on and so on. And in the background, you can see an example of a search result where you get a list of the certificates that you have searched. There's also an advanced detailed search where you can configure the template, the requester, the expiration date, whatever, and so you can get a clear scope of the certificates that you will get. Yes, I told you we have different connectors for different types of CAs. On the left, you see the integration with the Microsoft CA, Active Directory Certificate Services. We have two different connectors here. We have a DCOM connector, which is rather easy to configure, and we have also a HTTP connector that is using the web enrollment of the Microsoft CA. Both can make sense. certLife can use the same certificate templates that are configured for the Microsoft CA. And what is interesting is that we can synchronize all the certificates from the Microsoft database with the certLife certificate database. This can be reduced to certain templates that you want to manage, or you can even synchronize the complete database. And so you have a very, very user-friendly option to manage the certificates from the Microsoft CA. On the other hand, we have connectors for public CAs like DigiCert, Cuovadis, Global Science, WizSign, and other public CAs. And all these CAs have different interfaces. So typically we have HTTP interfaces, CMP interfaces, SOAP-based interfaces, or more commonly used now are REST APIs. And so we have one connector per CA. And what is important is I've talked about the certificate templates that are configured in Active Directory. And for each template, there must exist a corresponding certificate profile on the CA side. And this depends from CA to CA how these profiles are configured, but this must match these both profiles. If you are using a public CA, certain organizational steps have to be performed. The public CA will validate the organization. It will check if you have control over the domains that you are using, and they will also validate the personnel, the administrators. So let's look into the integration of certLife into the top key architecture. So we have certLife, we have these CA connectors, we can perform a direct enrollment with these connectors, and we have the central certificate database. This is what I explained before. This is the integration with the Microsoft CA that goes further than the other CA integrations. Instead of direct enrollment, we can also perform an indirect enrollment via the CertP. In certLife version 1, it was only possible to do this via CertP, but now you have both options to do the enrollment. Then we have another component for the auto enrollment of service certificates, which is called certAcme. And certAcme will also write the certificates into the certificate database. And we can use certLife for the acceptance or the approval of certificate requests. Another component is certPush. certPush will upload SMIME certificates to MDM systems or to Microsoft Intune. Intune can also be used to enroll device certificates via the CertP. Yeah, and last but not least, we have the options to discover certificates. I will explain it later on in more detail. And we have the option to upload certificates by the certificate manager or by a server administrators. By this, we can upload X509 certificates. We can upload private keys in a PFX container, and we can also upload SSH keys. And all these certificates are managed via the certificate database, and certLife is the management platform for all these certificates. Yeah, as I told you, we have also a REST API. The REST API offers a couple of methods for retrieval of certificates, request of certificates, revocation, recovery of private keys, whatever. And the options that are offered are based on a role-based authorization. certLife offers a role-based management concept. The roles are defined in Active Directory, and the client application performs a Windows authentication. And based on the role that it has certain methods and access to certain certificates, and others are prevented based on the authorization. Yeah, this was just a very brief introduction into certLife. And now let's see what is new in the new minor release version 2.3. Yeah, as I told you, the most important new feature is the certificate discovery. Up to now, we were able to manage all the certificates that were requested within the top key architecture. So this is a very controlled environment where you have only certificates from the CAs that are connected with the top key components. But there are often situations where you have certificates used in your network that do not stem from these configured CAs. So there are administrators that purchase their own SSL certificates or whatever. And in order to find these certificates that are being used, we have this certificate discovery feature. So you have two options for discovery. You have the manual option where you can go into the web GUI that you saw before and perform a manual discovery, and you have an automated option that runs on a daily basis, for example. And the discovery goes through the network, through the defined network segments, and finds either certificates from already known configured backend CAs. It will also find certificates from unknown external CAs, and it will also find SSH keys that are being used on your server machines. Yeah, and all these discovered certificates and SSH keys, they will be imported directly into the certificate database so that you can manage all these certificates and keys afterwards. This is a screenshot from the certLife configurator. There you can configure the certificate discovery and especially the automatic discovery. You can insert the start time and the interval of the discovery process. You can define templates, which templates will be used for TLS certificates, which template is being used for SSH keys. You can define IP ranges that have to be searched for. The ports, here we have the standard HTTPS port, but you can also add LDAP 636, for example, and the SSH ports. You can also define an exclusion list, IPs, certain IPs or IP ranges that you do not want to discover. This can be provided in a separate file. Yeah, and in order to discover certificates manually, you have this option in the Manage tab of certLife, and here you have the same option as you saw before. You can define an IP range together with the ports. You can define exclusion list of IPs, and then select if you want to search for TLS certificates or for SSH key or for both. Yeah, after the scan, you will get a result. This is the slide here in the screenshot in the background. You will get a result of all the scanned certificates. The symbol will be used when a certificate has been found that was already in the database, and this asterisk symbol will be used for certificates that are newly found. Yeah, in this search. Okay, and at any point of time you can search in the database for scanned certificates. So there is a new button in the advanced search field where you can select if you want to find all scanned certificates or only those from the last 24 hours or only those who are new with the asterisk symbol. Yeah. So you will get a list just like this when you perform the search. And what's new in the search result is that you now have the option to select multiple certificates. So in the past, it was only possible to select the option dialog for a single certificate. But now you have the option to perform bulk operations like bulk download, bulk revocation, or also bulk deletion. But deletion is really restricted to scanned or discovered certificates. So this makes sense because in the past we had often situations with customers that had to revoke a couple of certificates, let's say a couple of hundreds or a couple of thousands of certificates, and in this case it makes sense to perform a search for these templates and then select. You can either select all, or you can click on those that you want to select and then perform the bulk operation. I think this is a very interesting feature that helps in certain situations. Yeah, another new feature is the support of the Microsoft SID extension. I will just explain what this means. In the last year, Microsoft published a vulnerability regarding certificate-based authentication. There was a problem with the certificate mapping, where you map a certificate based on its contents to a specific to a certain user. And there was a problem when using UPN for mapping or other attributes for the mapping. And for this, a new attribute was introduced for the mapping, which is called SID, Secure ID. Each object in Active Directory has such an SID, and Microsoft now will import this SID into the issued certificate. And for this, there's a specific extension with this OID that is being used for these new certificates. Yeah, and then the SID extension, each time a user will log in with the certificate, this SID extension will be compared with the SID of the Active Directory object. This mechanism was enabled by Microsoft in May 22. This is I think it's exactly 1 year ago. Where the Microsoft CA got an update, a security update that performs these operations. And this behavior will be enforced in November this year. So from that time on, you will definitely need this extension for certificate-based authentication in a Microsoft environment. Yeah. And in order to support this, we have implemented this in certLife, and you can activate this feature by a registry key, enable SID. And currently, this feature is, it's clear that this feature also has to be supported by the CA that is connected. And currently, this is supported by DocTex CA, OpenXPKI, and the Susan CA, and of course also by the Microsoft CA. Okay, this was a special feature. Again, this is only important if you are using certificates for client authentication. Another important or interesting feature is the log rotation. In the past, the log files grew up steadily, and you could have problems that they will fill up the hard disks, and you have not enough space at the end, especially if you are using the maximum log level. This is not recommended, by the way. We recommend to use the default level, but some customers are using maximum. And so if you use log rotation, you can define the number of log files that may exist, and you can define the maximum size per log file. So you will not have the trouble that the disk gets full. Okay, then we have a couple of other features in the security area. One interesting feature is to display the PFX passwords as an image instead of text that can be copied and pasted. So there, here you have a higher security because it cannot be intercepted. This is an optional feature. You can enable or disable this. Then we have some HTTP security features. We will disallow caching, and we will exclude sensitive HTTP response headers that may provide information about the system itself, for example, about the IIS version, software version, or whatever. And then we are using secure cookie settings to improve security on this level also. Another new feature that is also a security feature is the determination of the allowed CSP and KSP. CSP stands for crypto service provider, and KSP stands for key storage provider. In the past, you could select the used CSP or KSP based on the installed CSPs and KSPs on the machine. But you can, or the administrator can, define in the Active Directory template which CSPs and KSPs are allowed for the template. So, and with the new version of certLife, you can only select from these allowed CSPs and KSPs. So they must be allowed in the AD template, and they must exist on the local system, and then you can select from those who match. Also, this is a security improvement, of course. Okay, now I think we finished the feature presentation. I just want to summarize it up. I've shown you an introduction to certLife. I've shown you the capabilities of certificate management for public key certificates, private keys, SSH keys. I've shown you the self-services for admins, users, notification statistics. I've shown you an overview architecture slide where I've seen the integration with other key components, Active Directory, and so on, the REST API. And I introduced the innovations in the minor release of certLife, certificate discovery, the most important new feature, a multi-selection of certificates, support for the Microsoft SID extension, rotation of large log files, and a couple of security features that we brought into the software. Okay, so I want to thank you very much for your time now, and I will just look now if there are any questions. I think there are a couple of questions. Found certificates linked to already known certificates. Yes, they are. If the certificates are already in the database, the found certificate will so it will be marked as scanned from the discovery. Other question: can you scan for SSL implementation, TLS versions, or ciphers? No, we don't. We have a certificate management system. We don't have a security scanning system. This is currently not planned. If you need such a feature, you can go into a direct discussion with us. I've heard this in the past from other customers, but currently there's no concrete plan to implement this. But you can go into a discussion with us. Next question: we use certP in our environment. Can certLife be used as an alternative for certP? Depends on your use case. If you want to perform auto enrollment, certP supports the native Windows auto enrollment. We have customers that perform the auto enrollment with certLife, with the central auto enrollment. In this case, you would not need the certP, so the key pairs are then generated centrally in the certLife system instead of certP. Okay, I hope that this answers. Here's another one. When we will have Microsoft SID certificate extension feature on certP, any release date? Yeah, certP, this is planned for the next major release of certP, and this is scheduled for the Q3 of this year. I will inform, of course, or we will inform, of course, all of our customers as soon as we have a concrete date. But this will be definitely before the November date where Microsoft will enforce the SID feature. It will be so you will get this feature definitely before that. Okay, so thank you very much. If you have further questions, just send me an email. My email address is gunnar.jakobsson@secardio.com, or you can also send it to info@secardio.com if you like. So again, thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening. Goodbye.